Hi, I'm Garrett with IDC Woodcraft, and I'm glad you've come to this video. If you are someone who is interested in a CNC machine, maybe a CNC router, and you're wanting to make some money with it, or maybe you are already in business and you're not doing so well, then this video and this video series is for you. What this is a continuing series of a mentoring session where I have been mentoring a guy named Mark who was getting tired of his normal routine life of a 9-to-5 type of lifestyle and wanted to do something more meaningful. Mark purchased a CNC router, specifically the same one I have, a long mill CNC router, and had the idea that he wanted to get into business. But once he got it all set up, he really had no clue what he was doing and didn't know how to get into business. So on his quest to try to figure it out, he found the videos that I create for you and asked me if I would mentor him. So he commissioned me to walk him through the process of building the foundations of a successful business and then starting to create that business and go after it. And what you're going to find out is it's not just about going into business, but the most important aspect is building the foundations of the business. And that's what's happened in episode 1, 2, and 3. This one is where Mark has actually seen some success based on building up these foundations, such as understanding his customer, who they are, what they like, and where they hang out at. So fundamentally important, but also understanding his why. This video, particular episode here, will probably not make a lot of sense to you if you've not watched episodes 1, 2, and 3. So I highly recommend that you start at number 1 and then work through each episode until you get to this one. The links for each one are down below in this video and in the other videos that have been before. Now, if you're someone who is following this, you're going to be very surprised in this particular mentoring session because you're going to see how all this foundation building has led to a very successful start with Mark's CNC business. You know that Mark set up a $5.5K goal. He wanted $5,500 in 6 weeks. He is literally on week 2, I guess this is week 3, of trying to achieve that goal, achieving the goal. And he has hit 50% of that mark already. And it's all because he built this foundation up to understand what his business is about, who it's going to serve. So, with that being said, we're going to dive into this, and you're going to, Mark is later on in the episode, he's going to explain why he now understands why these foundations are so important. So if you're trying to get in business and you've been following this and you have not done the work that we have done in the earlier episodes, you have to do it if you want to succeed. If you are getting something out of this, then why don't you buy me a cup of coffee? I've had a lot of people say, I want to buy you a cup of coffee. Well, you can support what I'm doing in helping you by buying me a cup of coffee. There's literally a link down below where you can donate to buying me a cup of coffee. So if this series is helping you, then take a minute to go down there and click that and donate to support this channel, which is supporting you in your dreams, your endeavors into having a successful business that means something to you. With all that being said, we're going to get started with Mark. Let's go. Well, hey, Mark, it's good to see you again. Session number 4. So I've got an email from you. We had to offset our our little mentoring session because you had a show that you went to. So this was like your first formal show.
Yes, it was. Yeah.
Okay. So before we get to the mentoring, let's hear about it because you sound like you were pretty excited. You saw some success.
Yeah, it was a bit of a last minute thing. So my partner Katie, she has been family cottaging up north Ontario. Basically since she was born, she's been up there, and she's a bit of an artisan herself. She makes a silver jewelry, pendants and so on. And this year she was invited into their annual marketplace that they have. There's a central hotel club place that everyone meets around. All the islanders meet around. Anyway, so she was invited. She's not been working on her silver this year. She's been focusing on other stuff. And I was like, well, maybe that's something I could do. And kind of last minute, they said, sure, come on in. So I scrambled for 5 days to make a bunch of product for the show, get all ready for it. My first show wasn't originally supposed to be for another month. So
Yep.
I kind of scrambled, and there's some interesting stories of trying to get ready for it. But it was quite successful. Renee and Blake were absolutely there. It was that my ideal target was, the socialite cottager that plays tennis, that is wealthy and entertains, and likes the good things and wants different and unique things for her place. And Blake was absolutely pumping his chest, and he was there. And I didn't actually have enough big boards, and I didn't have anything with juice grooves that would, help him kind of take off the literally, hey, I've got 10 steaks I'm taking off the barbecue on Friday kind of thing. So I didn't have any product for him at all, but it was good. And then the other thing is, and I want to talk to you a little bit about this, kind of identifying Renee and focusing on her. So just so everyone knows,
Yeah. So this is
you've seen
yeah.
the stuff that I've been doing here, but a lot of people don't know what I'm selling and I'm making. So there's the custom boards. I know for high-end board makers and experienced board makers, this is more of the amateur style, but for the consumer, they love this. So is this kind of style, very much a Chris DeVos style board. What I did, the CNC thing, is I made my tree. That's my signature tree, very similar to the Group of Seven Canadian famous artists. And I also then went ahead and lasered on my logo on the back. So I don't know if you can see the CNC back here, but I've added a laser to the long mill. So I'm able to do both routing now and laser work on my CNC. And then I filled it in with epoxy, black epoxy, which I've never done before, but on untreated wood, it filled in a little bit, and I've got shadows of epoxy going into holes. I had a situation where a customer dropped a board after they brought it home, $250 board. I had to refund because somebody dropped it, and I thought best that it's a small community with lots of people that talk. I brought it back. I can fix it and resell it, but there was that. So and I made a lot of really good contacts. A woman there that she for 15 years she's been doing the circuit. Her avatar, as far as Renee and mine, are very similar in that sense. So because we don't compete in the same product, she was willing to sit down, have a cup of coffee with me the Saturday morning, and then we're actually meeting this Friday to speak again. And she's going to basically break down the entire calendar, where to go, who to contact, and I should be able to get a show set up between now and Christmas.
So,
and then
you just said Renee and sitting down with Renee. So
no, Renee, no. Renee was, I'm saying that there was a woman that was also a vendor at the market, and
Okay.
her avatar is similar to mine, in that she targets Renee. That's her
Okay.
similar avatar.
Mhm.
So for the past 15 years, she's been going to all these shows and kind of figured out which ones are the good ones to go to. And then this is the other thing I want to talk to you about, Garrett, is she was telling me like a bunch of products that I should be making to sell to these people. And because my price points at the show started at 150. I had one small board, cheese board, for 150, but everything else was 175 with the highest at 225. And these prices are all Canadian, by the way, everyone. I didn't have any problem.
Yeah, let me just stop for a second. I guess yeah, you've gotten into the habit of realizing that I'm recording this for YouTube, and so as Mark is talking, he's actually talking as if there's other people out here. So it's for the benefit of anybody else who's looking for this kind of information. that this is a paid mentoring session. Marcus paid me to mentor him into business, and part of the agreement was to record it. And
yeah, absolutely. And I'm reading the comments and some personal messages. So I just thought I'd speak to you as well.
right,
That kind of like, what the hell is he doing here?
right.
Anyway, so this other woman, she was suggesting that I start making other kind of smaller products, products that are kind of like the $50 and less kind of range. And so I was looking at some of the things that she was telling me that would sell, and I'm kind of going, well, that's totally not artisan quality stuff. It's it's not Walmart, but it's definitely not the high-end stuff that I want to be producing and to be known for. But as she said, do you want to be known for making really good boards but be broke, or do you want to make money at these shows and sell shit? Like that was her comments. And I'm like, I want to sell shit, and I also want to be known for making high quality stuff. So is there another avatar that I need to look at that's at these shows and kind of have my table set up so that I've got that avatar covered, and and look at the show and go, oh, that show is, Renee's going to be there, but maybe it's Knick Knack Nancy. I just made that up on the spot. That's a good one. But maybe she's looking for artisan knick-knacky woody stuff. I don't know, like woodland creatures or things like that.
Mm-hmm. So
Like, how many avatars are you going to create?
yeah, so you the first thing is you've defined a niche, right? Your niche is Renee and Blake. Right now, there's going to be offshoots there. So Renee is she's a bigger spender. She spends money on herself. Blake spends money to maintain an image, right? However, there are smaller Renees and there's bigger Renees, right? Or more frugal Renees, and there's more what's the word, lush Renees, if you will, and the same thing with Blake. So yeah, as long as you stay in that niche, that it's so easy to start creating other stuff and you start getting outside of your box, and that starts to create the confusion. So you want to be really aware of, is that product in your niche? Does it like in the grayer zone of your niche as opposed to being further out. So let's start off with some of the things that she suggested. What kind of things would hurt?
So the conversation around woodland creatures, silhouettes of woodland creatures in different colors of wood, and I'm using exotics. So you've got yellow heart and purple heart and Paduke and Wengi and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, it's expensive woods, but they're not. I mean, it's just beautiful colors. And that was the funniest thing. I almost need a sign that says, "These are not stained. This is natural wood color." The amount of times I had to answer the damn question, which is fantastic. But the other thing is, she was suggesting, is all those kind of kitschy signs. She's like, 5 shows I know of, the kitschy sign guy is gone. He's either moved or he doesn't do the shows anymore. He's gotten too old, that kind of thing. So
what kind of signs?
The kitschy signs, like the kitschy, like the sayings, all the signs have got the fun sayings, like it's
the
9 o'clock
catchy
somewhere.
signs.
Yeah, we call it kitschy, but yeah. So it's like it's wine o'clock all the time, or I've never seen a bad bottle of wine, that kind of stuff, or live, laugh, love, and all that kind of stuff, right? Those signs. And so I'm looking at those signs, and Blake and Renee are not into those signs. But as this woman was telling me, she's like, but they sell. And she's like, you could probably do $1,000 a show just in those signs. And she's like, I bet you can get some cheap wood and knock them out. I'm like, yeah, I could. And there's lots of people that do it. So my question to you is, and I've got a piece here. It's, do I take MDF and I go online and grab all those little fun sayings and rattle off 50 of these things for the next show, and does that then turn off Renee and Blake. Well, actually, it'd be Renee at these shows. Blake doesn't come to these shows.
Right, right. So that's a really good point. That was one of my thoughts as you were talking. So if you've got a table with $230 cutting boards,
Yeah.
and on that same table are your catchy little signs that cost $30.
Sure, yeah.
There's a distinct drawdown of the quality of the price mindset that board would be. They're seeing $30 here, and then they see $200 here. There's such a discrepancy that
Okay.
that the potential customer is going to mentally draw the value. You will not sell as many cutting boards. If you go in that direction, it's not so bad that you do that, but you want to make a distinct separation from your boards to your thing. So ideally, your spouse would be at that table. You'll be at this table, right? There's a very distinct separation. So
Yep.
it's okay to go into it, but I mean, you get what I'm saying, right? There's this very distinct thing, and so that creates, you have kitchen cutting boards and kitchen coasters or whatever, and then that sets up something of a bit of a confusion for Renee or Blake.
Right.
They're not seeing it as treat me special. I am treating myself special. Be just by that very nature, they are spenders. So
Yeah.
it's not that it's a bad idea. It's just how do you get into it and keep them independent?
Right. Right. I'm almost thinking, and so now just kind of off the top, my daughter's kind of coming of that age where she may want to have a little side business. So maybe, she learns to outsource product from somebody that she doesn't know how to make, and maybe she and I design them together, and then she's at these shows. So, that's her side business, right? So she's got her business where she's the sign kid, and then dad's over here doing the high end stuff. And maybe
That's perfect. That's perfect. What makes that so cool is there's a very cool alignment with Renee in doing that. Okay. And I want to know if you can make the connection before I tell you what that connection is.
I'm thinking that Renee is an entrepreneurial woman. She's a strong woman. She's independent, and she's supportive of young girls kind of succeeding and taking charge in their lives. And I think that they would acknowledge and reward her for doing that, and see that as a good thing. And then as an extension of that, see dad helping her and going, this is a really cool thing that they're doing. And it would increase the, the presence, the value of kind of what we're doing, and kind of buy into the whole story.
Mm-hmm. Yep. You just amped Renee's spending ability up a notch, or spending desire with that kind of concept. And you're dead on. Renee is all about.
So let me ask you this. This is now kind of the thing. What if my daughter doesn't want to come? So this is where crowd comes in. I'm going to ask you, Garrett, because you're mentoring me, but I'm sure the audience has got a lot to say about it. And this is the weirdness, everyone, about me putting my life out there.
Yeah.
I have to get some thick skin to read some of these comments, let me tell you. But
if you're feeling it, other people are feeling it.
But yeah, true enough. So let's say Sophie doesn't show up. Can I say that my daughter made these? Oh, is that like totally off the mark?
No.
No. Where does that sit on the ethics and the moral side of
no?
the question?
So you have artisan carving boards. That's your business. That's your sign. Next table says the kid sign or whatever. And your daughter happens not to be there. Somebody's walking by. You say that's supposed to be my daughter's thing, but she's got something to do today. She already had this planned out, but she's got a sport event or whatever.
With her mom, whatever.
Yep. Renee's can totally get it. It's a family. You got to do what you got to do.
True enough. That's actually kind of a cool idea, because we've been talking about doing something like this back in the day when we drive back and forth to my mom's or grandma's. we'd, do stories in the car, and it turned into like this whole thing around daddy daughter bakery, and we'd make up all these stories and all that kind of stuff. And she's always like, Daddy, can we do something together? So maybe this is it.
It
That's
might
kind of
be.
that's kind of cool, actually.
It is kind of cool. Yeah, that would appeal to. I don't think it'll appeal so much to Blake because the ego's too big, but
Yeah.
Renee, not only Renee, but it's going to expand into mommy Mary, right?
Yep. 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 Totally. And potentially culinary Kathy too.
Yeah, yeah. And the thing is once they know that there's this connection, you make it very intentional when you're talking to a customer that you immediately connect, as they're looking at your stuff. In the first few sentences of your dialogue. Yeah, and there's my daughter. She's got her own business. We finally got it set up. We're trying this daddy-daughter thing together. Yeah, you might even be able to have that sign up there, daddy-daughter, and
Yeah.
that's a story that engages people,
Yeah.
because in some way, shape, and form, almost all of us didn't have that wish of having the daddy-daughter or the father-son thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Got
that's
that
gonna
too.
engage people.
Yeah.
So,
Totally.
so
Cool.
there you go. So the idea is when this lady was talking to you, and this is the other stuff you can sell. Um,
Maybe that's the branding.
could be.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Well, that was useful then.
Yeah.
Good.
The thing is though, is that you got to pay mind to how much stuff you're making and how far off the beaten path you get, because the further out you go, the more you get lost in the woods.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I saw that too at the show. There was this one vendor that was all over the map, and that whole conversation of what do you do and what's going on, and it was really hard to see what she was up to, and she just had lots of everything.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
That's a good point. So as your business is now, how would you define your business in one or two sentences?
Say more.
How would you define your business in one or two sentences?
As how much money it's making, or what I do?
What you do?
What I do? Well, right now I'm making artisan, handcrafted cutting boards and
Carving boards?
kitchen items. Yeah, carving
Okay.
boards, cutting boards. Yep.
Yep.
The artisan, what I found when I was talking to people is the term artisan cutting board really seems to resonate with people.
Okay.
And then because I'm a crap speller, the artisan woodcraft, they got the thing, and then we had something to laugh about. And then they would say, yeah, my husband can't spell, or I can't spell. I make those mistakes all the time too. And then it was, well, what's the word that you struggle with? And it's like restaurant, or
Yeah.
those kind of things. And anyway, it became a funny thing that I could use that in on, pardon the pun, but the in an artisan woodcraft as opposed to artisan woodcraft.
Right.
So the line kind of started to go, yeah, it's artisan woodcraft by art is in woodcraft, right? And people are like, oh, that's so funny. Anyway.
Okay,
So yeah,
that's good.
I think that's that's predominantly the space that I'm in. Now, one of the other questions came up because I'm staring right through there because my shop effing blew up. Okay, did I tell you? I think I don't
Yeah,
know if I
yeah.
told you.
No, well, no, you didn't. I just want to stop you
Okay,
for a second. I just want to make
okay,
a point. You were able to define your business in a sentence. I make artisan carving boards and other kitchen items, right? So you want to add in higher end carving boards.
right. Well, I
You
thought
know,
that's where the artisan word came in.
okay, okay.
Um,
The point is this woman that you were seeing, you said you couldn't quite figure out what she was doing. Did you talk to
I had
her?
no idea what the hell she was doing. I did. I went in and tried to understand. And I'm like, well, how did you learn how to do this stuff, and how did this all work? And and I think I am not the avatar, put it that way. I know that, and so I didn't get what she did. I thought some of the stuff she did was kind of neat and cool,
Mhm.
but I didn't get it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And it wasn't for me. Katie bought a piece. She loved it. She thinks it's great. But I would never have gone and bought that as a gift either. And I just didn't get what she was up to.
Okay, so that's the point. Your table is clear. You were selling, you had cutting
Yep.
boards, right? Artisan.
That's all I had on the thing. It was,
Right,
I
right.
had like 12 cutting boards on the table.
Crystal clear.
Yep.
Yeah, her business, she's not crystal clear.
No.
You know, unless she's art, whatever. But anyway, I just
She
want to
might
make
be,
that
but it's
point
an
of
artistic.
why that's why I wanted to make a point of clarity is so important. The more you present clarity to your customer, the more you're gonna get that customer that's interested, and the one that isn't interested is not going to spend any time looking at your
Yep.
stuff. She had a lot of people looking at her stuff because she had so much shit on the table, and she was talking to a lot of people, but
Yep.
she wasn't making a lot of sales
That's correct.
because people were like, you know, oh, that's cool, that's cool, that's cool. It's just you get them, you get my drift, right?
Yeah,
The people you were talking to were
Pardon me?
the people you were talking to were intrigued by what you made.
Yeah, so the way I set it up is the table I had, I basically said these are the exotics, right? And so I had intentionally made some stuff with some really bold colors, like really high yellow heart in the board, so they'd pop out, and people are like, "What is that?" And so it was a question, and the kids came by, and they're like, you know, I'd always, you know, kind of engage the kids. I'm like, "Do you think that's the real color of the wood, or do you think I painted it?" They're like, "No, you painted it. Wood doesn't come in red and purple and yellow." And I'm like, "It does." And then I had the other half of the table, which was domestics. And the conversation came in about wood sourcing on the exotics as well. So I'd prepped for that to find out where I source my wood from. And the way I'm doing it is I'm going to my local mill and I'm buying shorts and offcuts and trim pieces, and I'm pulling out of it what I can salvage from it. The average Joe that's buying from this mill is unable to. That's just not their business. They're buying 8-foot straight boards clean, and anything else that's not there, they're chopping off 4 feet and leaving at the mill. And
Wow.
that's what I'm picking up. And I'm telling these people because they're like, "Oh, well, isn't that endangered?" And I'm like, "It's on one of the 2 international lists as a to watch, but it's already here, and it's going to go into the chipper at the end of the month. So I'm saving it from the chipper so you can enjoy its beauty." And people are like, "Oh, okay, I get that." So, because where I was, it's an environmental environment.
Yeah.
It's a natural environment, so people love to see sustainability and all that stuff. So
Right.
that was the other thing that everybody I spoke to, except for Blake, was all about the sustainability of stuff. So I had to quickly address that. And some of the other boards too. We have the ash borer beetle up here. It's destroying the ash population.
Yep.
But what it's doing is it leaves some amazing artifacts in the wood, and it pulls out and it's able to show it. It's actually a really cool thing. I'm like, look, we're saving. You know, the trees are getting cut down anyways, so we're putting them to use in artistic ways. And people are, oh, that's kind of neat too. So there was a lot of that kind of stuff going on.
Right. Okay. The ash borers destroying the ash everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
That's
they,
cool though. I'd never thought about the character that's put into the wood.
oh god, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's like I'll send you some pictures of it. But it's and I don't have any here, but it's but here's the thing, like, this is the fun part, the story that I was telling people. I don't know if you can see the figure in that, but
Yeah.
that board at the top, when it was given to me, and I didn't take a picture, I think I will going forward. It was literally covered in mud. I had to take the hose to it and wash the mud off before I put it on the, and then let it dry for a couple days before I put it on the tools to mill it. And then it started to mill out, and that started to come up, and I was like a little kid in a candy store, jumping up and down. I'm like, "Oh my god, look at this! This is beautiful! I paid $3 for this. Are you effing kidding me?" Like, that's part of the fun of that, you know. And anyway, the other thing, that happened is because I wasn't prepped for this, and I learned a wicked valuable lesson about getting prepped. Is I took all of my raw boards up with me to the cottage to finish them, to do my final sand, to pop the grain, do my final sand, to oil them, and to wax them. And I was letting them dry, and I didn't know where this, like, I didn't know the sun pattern. It was cloudy day, and we went out for a boat ride and came back, and the sun had come across the back area of this cottage where we're staying, and 7 of my boards all checked. Like literally the ends of the boards exploded because they were moist to raise the grain. And then the sun came in and just dried them out, and they all cracked and checked. And I mean, I could fix them, but I couldn't fix them up there. And I probably could have sold probably 5 or 6 more boards, because they were the really cool ones with wicked figure in them and all this cool pattern.
So these are ones that
And
you already built.
I had built them. Yeah,
Okay.
I had built them. They were all sanded, routed, handled, everything ready to go. I just couldn't get them final sanded and oiled before I went up. So I chose to do that because I had 10 days before the show.
Right.
So I was going to do that up there. And anyway, I ruined 7 boards. I was able to save 2 up there, but yeah, 7 boards are literally firewood right now. I'm going to try and save them, but yeah, it was a waste. I don't know if you can hear down there, but I was quite upset.
That's what that noise was. Okay.
Yeah, the birds all
right.
left the trees when I came home that day.
Right, right. Okay, so at the end of the day, what did you take home from your show? This is basically
A lot of stuff.
your first formal money toward your goal, which is $5,500,
Yep.
5.5K in 6 weeks, and we are in 2 weeks right now.
Yeah, so I did my list. There's my list. So can you see that okay?
Yep. So explain this to me.
Okay, so on this side here, because it's showing up in the camera reverse, so that's the dates of sales.
Okay.
That's the dollars that was sold, and then I added what it was, and then a cumulative total coming down. So at the end of the show, at the end of the weekend, since we started this, I'm at 2295. So 2,300 bucks.
You are
is what it's sold.
50% there already.
I am. Yep, I am. I'm pretty jacked about it. It was the first lady, when she bought the board. We're still in COVID and all that stuff. We had to wear masks. The first lady that bought the board, Janet was her name. I walked around and I gave her a big, huge hug, and I'm like, "Thanks for validating me."
That first sale is amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. It was a high, and after that, it was just, it wasn't huge, but I mean, it rained for 3 days. It wasn't advertised and people didn't know about it. 50% of the community up there isn't around because they're American and they couldn't cross the border. And then there was just a bunch of people seasonally that weren't up there. So I think it was fantastic for the people that went through, and I was the second highest sales vendor at the market.
No,
So
really?
yeah, for my first time out, I was quite pleased with it. Now the big thing is the people that I met. So I already spoke about the woman, but I have 2 orders for wine barrel staves. They want custom sayings on them. So I sell those for 110. So I've just got to meet with them this week. Then I got a call from my client down in Niagara, and he wants 10 more wine barrel staves with his logos engraved on it. Plus he wants a couple other projects, but I know for sure the wine barrel staves because I have an order. So that's another 550. I just haven't received the cash yet. So on this sheet, is it cash or invoice? What classifies going on this sheet?
When money comes in the door.
Okay, so cash, not an invoice. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
I have been following a couple out of Houston, Texas, and they do the realtor cutting boards as gifts, as a segue into their business.
Mhm.
So my first person I was speaking with has, not the first person, I've spoken to many, but the first person has come back and has said that she wants 10 boards, and the 10 boards I'm doing at a wholesale cost of 125 bucks.
Okay.
It'll be a welcome home board. It'll, on the front end, it'll be their name, and then on the back side it'll be contact information and all that stuff. So that'll be the board. So again, we're negotiating right now, but if that works, that's another 1,200. Sorry, when that works, that'll be another 1,250 bucks. And again, I want to talk to you about niche. So Libby comes in, loves the boards, loves everything I'm doing, and she says, "Hey, we've got a rustic cottage. We're upgrading it. Got a kind of a hand-me-down kitchen that we're throwing in this thing, and the countertop is ugly. We're replacing it. Can you make one of your boards that are the exotic woods as a countertop. And I'm like, yeah, I can. How much? Don't know. How big, how big, how long, how deep, all that
Right.
kind of stuff. So, I know it's not within the niche and within the product offering that I'm doing, but all it is an 8-foot long cutting board, basically. And I can handle through my planer, I can handle 26 inches. So, sorry, through my sander. So I can mill the work up and I can do the work. So, I'm guessing somewhere between 3 and 5 is kind of the price. And she wants that done within the next 3 weeks.
3,000,
So,
5,000.
yeah. So $3,000 to $5,000. So I don't know where that one's going to go. But that came of the show as well. So that's kind of sitting there. So if the current orders and quotes I have out, that's another $2,000. And then if Libby shows up, that's another 3 to 5. So right now, all I need to do is follow up on these other ones. And I think the 2 staves are a go. They just wanted to decide colors. I didn't have enough inventory for them. John's a go. I just got to go pick up the check. And Irene is, we just got to work out a design pattern that she likes. And in that case, then I've got another 2,000 sitting somewhere in the ether of prospecting.
Right.
So, and I've got 1, 2, 3 Labor Day weekend, 4, 5 shows coming up in the 6-week target.
Okay. All right. So you just loaded me down with information. So first of all, let's just talk about the countertop. By all means, it's just a big cutting board. So absolutely,
Pretty much.
you're not outside your niche. It's still kitchen product, and you have upsell and cross sell potential with that. Right?
She's quite influential. She's definitely Renee. Her husband is absolutely Blake. Actually, no, her husband's not Blake because he doesn't have all the insecurities. He's the real deal. He's a rock solid stand-up kind of guy. That's the only bit that but as far as that, kind of come have the barbecue and, let's do all that stuff and come on over and don't worry, I've got steaks in the freezer and, beer on ice and all that stuff. Yeah, he's definitely that guy. So
yeah, he's the one that when you get that thing done, they're going to invite you over for dinner, kind of thing.
Well, I was already invited over for dinner just to have a look at it. So yeah.
Okay. All right.
We ran out of time, but yeah.
Right. So how can you over deliver? How can you give Renee with the countertop more than what she expected?
Well, I mean, my initial thinking was there was a board that she liked. I actually pulled it out of my inventory and put it back. So I will give that to her as a gift, as a thank you gift.
All right.
And she was commenting on how her mother's, I think it's her mother's place, would want one of the wine barrel stave things. So that'll also be a gift for her. My cost is like $5, but I sell it for 110, so I can give that away to her.
Yeah.
Oh, that was the other thing. Sorry, I'll come back to that. But
No, that's okay. I'm looking up wine barrel staves because I have no idea what a wine barrel. Okay. No, I see.
Yeah, look up wine barrel stave candle holder.
Candle holder. Oh, okay. Very cool.
The hardest thing with that is the bits, because it's French oak. It's French white oak that has been compressed.
Yeah. I'm going to share my screen briefly so
perfect.
People who are watching this mentoring session.
That's exactly it.
So these are the parts of the wine barrel, and
that's correct. Yeah, those are called staves. Yeah.
Okay. All right, very cool.
And if you go on my Instagram page too, you'll see one. But if you go up to the top, okay. Anyway, yeah. So the challenge with those is to make 60 of them. To make 60 holes. You go through and dull out a drill bit, and the drill bits are 1 7/8 Forstner bits, high end. So the drill bit almost becomes a consumable. I've already had it sharpened twice, and the last time it's in the garbage. Like whoever thought a $65 drill bit's a consumable, you know what I mean?
You
But
might want to find one that has inserts in it, replaceable
well,
inserts.
yeah, I've actually got a carbide one coming in from Germany. It's like $165, but they said if I should be able to get like 500 holes before it needs to be sharpened.
Okay.
So
All right. Anyway, so where were we going?
yeah, so we were just talking about the butcher block cutting board and all that stuff, right? For Libby. The other thing too I was doing is when people were buying the boards, I'd reach back and I'd give them a tin of board butter and say, look, you're going to want to maintain this at the end of the season. You're going to want to butter this thing up and make sure it's nice and oiled up so that when you come back, it's in beautiful, pristine condition, and it can kind of soak up all the oil over the season, over the winter. And people are like, oh, and I can use this on my other boards. I'm like, yeah, and here's a card on how to care for your boards. Oh, I never knew how to do that. And I'm like, well, do you have a cast iron pan in the house? Yeah, I don't know how to deal with that either. And I'm like, well, okay, here's the instructions for this. Give me your email address and I'll email you the instructions on how to manage your cast iron frying pan too, that Uncle Bob or Grandma Mary gave to you. And so there was that, that good connection. They really appreciated, because I had it listed for $20,
Okay.
right? And on the invoice, I'd handwrite, large board butter, $20 gift, and that's what they got on the thing. So it seemed to go over well. And if there was a couple of people that I knew who they were that were somewhat influential, and they were talking to me about their boards, I'd give them a small tin of board butter and the what do you call it, and the care card, so they could take it home. So they actually had my information and they had everything back at the cottage. So I don't know what'll come of that, but I gave like 10 of those away as well.
Okay.
My cost is like, I don't know, I think $150 or $250 or something like that, all in with tin, making the stuff, the oil, the label, and everything. So
Right. Okay. Yeah. If it doesn't cost much, when you're dealing with somebody where you're randomly giving it to them, that may not.
no, these.
Well, not randomly. I mean, you talk to people, but there wasn't like any sale included,
No.
or were these potential sales?
These are potential sales, but these are also people that are in the community that are well established.
Okay. Okay. I see.
And
So you're just kind of getting your name sunk in their head a little bit. Okay.
that's correct. Yeah, that's correct. Yeah. So these are the people. They are Renee's. They are Blake's. They just either had boards already but weren't conditioning them. So I
Right.
gave them this, and I gave them the small one because they'll probably run out after they do all of their boards properly.
Yep.
And then that's a reason to call me back. And then their friends can, oh, your board looks really good. What's going on? Oh, this guy. That's kind of, I was just playing that one by ear, see what
Right.
happens.
Right.
Long-term game.
Make a little sample.
Yep.
And have it ready with you of a worn board and one that's been treated. Right. So you can. It's kind of falls in that line of dramatic demonstration. When they see the difference and said, does your board look like this? This is why you need this. And you can actually make sales out of that too.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. My original thought was it was my lost leader, kind of my, $15-20 thing, but nobody was interested in buying it. So that's why I was like, well, I don't want to carry these home. And also, for $2, it's a good calling card. So.
Right. Okay, Mark. Well, I'm pretty impressed with where you've gotten. You've been working pretty hard at this, and you've seen some good success already. You got some things lined up. You're gathering emails. That is so important. So
Yep.
you want to make sure at the end of the season that because you're in the digital, you've been in the digital space, you're aware of autoresponders.
Absolutely.
So an autoresponder is a service where automatic emails go out and you can schedule them. So if you have access to an autoresponder, or even if not, just put it on your calendar and email is at the end of the grilling season. Okay, it's time to take care of your board. I just want to remind you.
Oh, good idea for for that part. I was like, yeah, I could do that, but then I'm like, oh, hold on, that's a really good idea. Yeah, end of grilling season.
What is Irene, the one with the kitchen? With the kitchen
Irene, no,
counter?
Irene's the one. She's the realtor
Okay.
that is wants to give the boards as gifts.
Okay. Who's the kitchen counter girl?
Libby.
Libby?
Yep.
Okay. So one of the things I was thinking with Libby is her husband is the real McCoy Blake, right? Um,
Yeah, he's the
so
real deal. He doesn't have the insecurities.
he's not
That's for sure.
he's not Blake. He's not Blake. He's
No,
secure, successful, um, successful Samuel or whatever.
yeah.
Is he a griller?
Oh yeah.
Okay. Then maybe you need to give him a carving board instead of her.
Uh-huh.
You know what I'm saying?
There was, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I see where you're
As
going
the
with that.
gift. So now you've kind of touched them both. And with Liddy, is she gonna, since she can customize how this board's all laid out, right?
Correct.
Is that a part of the plan where you're gonna have take a bunch of boards to her and say, okay, here's the way,
Yeah, I've got a
samples.
bunch of offcuts and shorts that I'm going to bring over, and then she's just going to make up the pattern that she wants,
Perfect.
and have a complete hand in designing the whole thing.
Excellent. Excellent. That's pushing up to your 5K mark just for that.
Yeah.
Okay. Excellent. One of the things that the cross selling, when going back to this, okay, so you're not, I want to come back to this other lady that said, do you want to make money? Or do
Mhm.
do so in complement to your cutting board business, you make the cutting board stands, right? They'll cost $50 to $80, right? That can be part of the,
Yeah, it became critically apparent that I need to get them only if nothing else for display purposes.
uh-huh.
And I one of the boards that I made is well, it's the big board back here. And even in my kitchen, I'm like, where am I going to put this damn thing? So there was some practical requirements for it, but then some people are like, oh my God, this is art. Like, this is beautiful. I don't want to cut on it. So that's why that's now my purpose, everyday, daily use, daily driver cutting board in the kitchen. But the idea of being able to put it on a stand became such a critical thing. There was a couple comments, actually. Somebody said, I don't know where the hell I'm going to put something like this.
Yeah.
Or I've got a really small kitchen. So there was a couple things that I need to address around that, but the stand is going to be critical.
So you can make a stand for it. And there's a thought there. If you have really small kitchens, make a stand that mounts on the wall.
Oh, good idea. Yep.
Yep. Okay.
One of the
So
things,
yeah,
one of the things Katie, sorry, one of the things Katie came up with, and I'm curious about your idea on this or your thoughts on this, is to actually kind of like, you have a knife block, right? Not to make the knife blocks, but the knife block where you have all your high-end knives, is to have like a cutting board rack, because people, even myself, I'm looking at kind of going, okay, here's where I do all my primary food prep, veg and all those kind of things. I don't put my raw meat on that. I've got my raw meat board. And then I've got my garlic board, right? That I cut my garlic up and any of that kind of stuff. And my herbs, they go on one board. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, maybe do I make like kind of a set? Because you can go to any store and you can buy a set, small, medium, large, and they're all kind of the same, and then make a holder for that and actually kind of build that up.
yeah.
What do you think? What do you think from that perspective?
Well, that is
That was good.
squarely culinary Kathy,
Yeah.
right? So that is clearly on the avatar. And so yeah, that's totally perfect. That's totally perfect. And you talk her language. This is the herb carver board.
Yeah.
Right, the meat carver board. So there's a clear distinction. These are specialized boards just for, oh, it's beautiful. Excellent. So yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
Cool.
and it's perfectly in line with what you're doing right now.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Excellent. And then the other thing too, I saw up at they have a gift shop up there as well. Is they've got really cheap pine barbecue scrapers, the wooden barbecue scrapers. They're selling for $25, and like they're cracked, they're checked, yeah, I mean, they're just really, really cheap, and they're incredibly overpriced. So I'm going to approach them as well and see for next year, because they've already got their inventory for this year, but see for next year if I can get into their gift shop.
Yep.
So.
Yep, definitely.
Well, I just want to stop for a minute and just ask you if you feel like you're seeing progress in him that is helping you, or all this is helping you, then maybe you can give a thumbs up in this video and a comment down below, some of the aha moments that you're getting, some of the enlightenment that you're getting, and of course support the channel if you haven't done that already by buying me a cup of coffee. The link is down below for that. So what's coming up with Mark now is he's going to start to tell or reflect back. I'm asking Mark, what is the importance of doing all this foundational work? And he's going to explain it, and he explains it very well. So with that, give me that thumbs up, buy me a cup of coffee, and let's get back to Mark.
Definitely. Things are working, and I like that you're taking the approach. So this is one of the things that, for the sake of anybody who's watching this, is kind of the pattern that I want to point out that Mark is showing. So he got something, went to go into business. You bought a CNC router, and then you were, I don't know what to do. And I don't know if you have the mindset of, I'm going to make this, you know, but you really didn't know what you were going to make, so you couldn't really make a decision. But there was the element of, you have to make something out of this, that you didn't have a strong enough why to drive you hard on it. So we dug into your why, right? And then once you understood, not that you want to be a winner, but that you don't want to be a failure again, and you've got to succeed on your own, and it has to be meaningful to other people. So ultimately your personal feeling is, wow, they really like what I do, and you feel good and rewarded. And now you are going out and seeking that business, and you're talking to people, and you're taking action on it. And you are, one of the things that I have focused on with you is thinking beyond limiting thoughts, right? Like thinking beyond, can I make it this month? You know, how much money do I, do I have enough money? I'm not gonna have enough money. I'm gonna be out of a job. That's nothing but holding you back. Those kind of thoughts are negative. So we've been focusing on the positive, and you have been, it hasn't been hard for you to make that transition.
Oh, it's been hard. It's not been easy. I mean, there's been some days between our sessions where I'm just, where is it? That is the opening of my dust collecting unit that got ripped off the other day out of pure frustration, because I was like, F it, this is not going to work. And yeah, anyway, so that is not easy, my friend. That there's a bit of carnal damage that happened over here as a board went across the shop. So yeah. Anyway, just to be clear,
there's things like that. Well, yeah. So I've had a couple comments on the channel that said that some people are challenged with my style when it comes to this, and there's a reason for the style that I use with you. It's fairly assertive and direct. And so I guess I'll put it to you. How do you, do you find yourself irritated at me at times?
Yeah.
Good, exactly. That's what I hoped you would say.
Here's the reality is, I have right now, I have 4 people in my life that hold me accountable, right? Katie, my partner, and with all due respect and love for her, it's not her job to hold me accountable at what I'm doing here. I'm accountable to my daughter and making sure that her needs are taken care of. And it sure as hell ain't her job to hold me accountable. I've got my ex and child support. So there's an accountability over there. Absolutely. And don't want to hear from her as far as my accountability. And then I got myself. And there are days where I wake up and I'm like, F it, let me go learn something new on how to, I don't know. I mean, I committed to myself. I wasn't going to spend any time until I got the confirmation to go forward on this butcher block cutting board concept for the countertop. But man, I tell you, there's a couple times where I wanted to go and learn how to make one of those things, just so that I didn't have to come out here, or so I didn't have to make phone calls or whatever. And so yeah, it's uncomfortable. But that's the purpose, I believe, of why I have engaged with you to help me. Like, it's not supposed to be easy, right? Like, you're supposed to kick my ass and hold me accountable to stuff, right? Like, isn't that the purpose of a mentor? You know, you're not supposed to be my best friend and say, hey, let's just go have beers and laugh about it.
Mhm.
That's at the end, right? I'm looking at this, and what I want from you is I want you to hold me accountable. There's an added pressure, I'll be honest, of doing this live. It, quite frankly, it scares the snot out of me to come back to you and not have produced results. Um,
Good motivator.
Hell yeah. And then there's also this whole public side of it, which I really try not to pay attention to. But it's in the background, and people are messaging me directly, privately, finding me, and it's kind of a bit scary, to be honest with you. But I met some really cool people doing that, and some other individuals that were sharing some ideas, and it's like, yeah, gonna go out in sand again, and all that. So to you guys, hey, how's it going? Um, but I mean, here's the thing. I'm not where I want to be in life right now. I'm and I need to model process and structure, and I need to model what works. I need to be held accountable, because I'm not. I'll be honest. I'm not strong enough to hold myself accountable to the results I need. But having you there to hold me accountable is kind of part of this gig and part of what our relationship is. And yeah, I mean, if I haven't done something, like, put my feet to the fire, like, that's, quite frankly, that's your job. Like, I don't mean it to say that, but it really is in our relationship. It's to guide, it's to provide insight, it's to provide forward thinking, and then to kick my ass when I've gone out of line, or redirect me back if you want a softer approach to it. But I need some ass kicking, right? And I personally need to be responsible and accountable to other people that I don't love, that I can say, you know what, that guy just pissed me off, F him today. You know what I mean? Or I don't agree with you, and have an argument with you, knowing that it's not going to, you know, spill over into dinner and into tomorrow and into the weekend. You know, like, that's not their job. Their job is to be loved and cared for and supported. That's kind of how I look at it. So anyway, yeah. So no, I think, please, the harder the better.
Yep. Okay. What is it that made you? Well, okay. I'm just trying to think of the right way to ask this and see if you will answer it that way. How is it that you are willing? What did you have to do to become willing to be pushed through mentoring?
So
What locked you into it?
I'll be honest with you, I did not expect to go the direction that we've been going. Um, I need help making this thing move. Okay, that's part of what this is about, right? And I need to be, this thing is sitting idle right now, and it's pissing me off. I need this thing needs to be making money for me, right? But I don't know what to make. Some cases I don't know how to make it. Um, but the I think if I look back in our approach, and Katie's asked me the same thing too a little bit, is, so how come you haven't been making anything? Haven't you been carving anything? And it's like, there's a different process going on here. So I think the why is, it's a bit bigger. It's kind of now started to show that, okay, it's just not about making something on the machine. It's about actually creating a business around this, creating a lifestyle that I want. I I was jacked at the end of every day when I was up at the show. I was clear, like, this is where I want to be. Like, I love the praise. I love the Janet comes back to me on Saturday morning going, I used the cutting board. I made breakfast for my family and it was awesome and it was great. And I'm like, did it taste any better? And she's like, no. And I'm like, but did you have fun? She goes, yeah. And I'm like, well, perfect. And then people coming back and saying, this is the guy I was telling you about. Look at his stuff. And yeah, did everyone buy? No. I mean, but that's okay. But but inside there was some pride going on. And one thing I didn't tell you about is I'm invited back next year already. And I've also been invited to present some of my stuff in the art gallery that they do up against artists and woodcraft. And there's a bowl turner that's turning bowls for $1,800, and they want my stuff alongside theirs now.
Really?
Like, yeah, and so that's something I never expected. I just want to make some goddamn money. You know what I mean? But why? And that's the thing, and that's why I bust my ass to get to that show. I wasn't ready. I didn't have the processes, but I knew I've got this goal, this 5,500, in 6 weeks.
Mhm.
I'm a week and a half into, almost 2 weeks into it now. I got to get there, and the why is the important part. I will not look back on this time as a failure. This time, any mistakes I make are mistakes I'm learning from, and this will be the direction of where I'm going, and I'm taking my life. I will be this guy Jim, who at 86 years old is still turning boards and is like, everyone loves his work and everyone has a piece of his work in their cottage. That will be me. They will have a board that, oh yeah, Mark made that, and and their kids are having it. 50 years from now, their grandkids are cutting on that board. That's just like freaking awesome for me. So, and I never would have gotten there. I mean, we're not done. I still need to make this thing move. It's not moving. Okay.
Right.
I need help with that. But I've kind of given into the process and said Garrett's got a higher reason for this. So yeah, so that's why I'm here.
Yeah.
Have I answered your question?
You did. You did.
Okay.
Yeah, one of the things that you have done is you've paid me to do this, and you continue to pay me per session. And so that's a sign of commitment, right? People
Yep.
don't respect free. Oh, it's free, I'll take it or leave it, right? And so you have you committed to that in yourself to do that, because you know that it creates some commitment within you to keep going.
Yep.
So I wanted to ask you about all this avatar study we've done, because there have been a couple comments on the other videos that so why are you working so much on this avatar, and why is that so important? And so I would like for you, if you're okay with it, to spend a little bit talking about that to anybody that might be watching this, your progress through this avatar thing, studying, coming up with Rewarding Renee and Barbecue Blake, Culinary Kathy, and now you've got another one that you're kind of getting in there.
Yeah.
How do you think that's helped you with this
So,
business?
Yeah, so for my past background, it was a requirement. So from digital marketing and things, it was a requirement to be able to write emails and ad copy to be able to identify who that person was. But I never did it in my own business. For me now, being able to do it, walking the people. So I've got the table. They're walking past the table, and it was the language that I was able to use. This is amazing. Wouldn't it be great, when you have your next dinner party, that, you've got like a new board for other people, and you can give it to them as something to cut on as everyone's preparing dinner. And she's like, oh my God, I've got my girlfriends coming over, and we're going to, do a girlfriend's night of veggies and cheese and nibblies and wine and all that stuff. We could totally do that. We could cut it on I have one of the girls cut it on the board and then bring it out, and we could all eat around it. I wouldn't have known that conversation needed to happen without that. The other part of it too is by knowing that Renee and Nancy and Culinary Kathy were my ideal target, I knew how much energy and effort to put into the boards. I knew that they needed to be elegant. They needed to be of the highest quality I could personally produce. They needed to have a kind of a difference that they couldn't buy at the shop down below, the gift shop, or they couldn't buy at one of the cities kind of as they're driving into town. It's something that they couldn't get locally. And I needed to put a personalization on it that reflected the community that they were part of. and I didn't have everybody that came past the booth was crystal clear. I knew exactly who they were based on 2 or 3 questions. You know, did you play tennis today? No, I don't do that stuff. Oh, did you have people over last night? No, we don't entertain a lot. You know, and I was able to gauge very quickly, you know, the people that didn't entertain, didn't play tennis, you know, didn't have family up, they were not buying the boards. Like it was like so easy to tell. So it led into a few questions, and I knew who, if there was 5 people standing in front of me, I quickly could discern who I needed to spend time with. So that was that. And ironically enough, the last day of the show, we had to go back to the cottage and clean up. And 2 people bought boards even without me being there. The team that was signing up and taking all the payments and everything like that, I asked who they were. They were known people. And I said to Kim, I'm like, who are the people that bought them? And it was so-and-so and this other person. And I'm like, what are they like? Oh, this one entertains. This one's really big in the tennis community and the whole bit. It's like, I wasn't even there. My avatar is buying the product. You know what I mean? So I think from that perspective, it helped me get really clear. It also helped me to not put crap on the table that wasn't going to sell to this community. And so as a result, I didn't waste my time on making stuff that wasn't for them. Now, if I go to a different market, I have to look at my, you know, maybe it's Knick Knack Nancy, I don't know. But understanding that was vital in quality, in pricing. I like this board, you know, this board I sell for 250, 220. Yeah, I still have the damn price tag on it. I'm using my kitchen. $225 I'm selling this board for, right? It's got the low, it's got my personalization on it. It's got Paduke Purple Heart. It's got some African mahogany down at the bottom, and lots of figured wood and stuff like that. I would never have thought that I could sell that for $220. Before we started talking, and before we started looking at this, I was thinking maybe $120, right? But I said, okay, well, let me see if it'll sell for twice that. And lo and behold, I have 2 left out of 7. So, you know what I mean? Like, so that was good. One broke, but so I think the question about spending time on the avatar, it dials back into where do I spend my time in the shop, and then what am I making, and who am I serving, right? And who become my fans. It also helped me make sure that the presentation of my table was classy and elegant. I didn't overwhelm the table with a bunch of stuff. It was easy. There was only a few pieces on the table at any given time. There was inventory at the back they could choose from, but from what they could touch and grab at the front, there was only a few pieces. Small, medium, large, exotic, basically was what it was. The other pieces were in the back, like behind me at another table. And then it also allowed me to address the question of who are you, what do you do, what's going on, and it helped me to frame the conversation of how I got into this, right? And so that was a big thing. So it really came down to what to make, what to focus on, the quality, what to present, how to present, what to say, and what questions to ask.
Okay. Yeah. Excellent. So yeah, you used a couple words, exotics and domestics, right?
Yeah.
These are good sounding words, right? They're going to
Yeah.
be impressive to Renee, especially.
Yep.
And she's going to be drawn to the exotics, huh? That's
The kid,
specialized.
there was a boy who was about 11 or 12 years old. He was with his dad, and then mom shows up and he's like, come see these exotic woods. They're really cool. They're from around the world, you know? And she's like, oh, what do you mean by exotic? So it was an opportunity to open up the conversations or something.
Mhm. Cool. Yeah. So one of the things you stated here was, you know, at the end of the day, you were able to charge twice the amount of money that you originally had in your mind of what you could sell these boards for.
I never did it.
Because, yeah, because
we did.
Right. Because you understand what drives this avatar, what they need, and how they need to go about it. And interesting about the questions and the languaging. So we talk a little bit about that as far as the languaging when you're talking to Renee, as opposed to talking to Mediocre Mary.
Sorry, say more.
So when you're talking to your avatar at your booth,
Yes.
what is the languaging that you're observing? And the other thing is what did Renee look like? How was she dressing? How was she carrying herself? Her body language.
That was hard to determine because it's cottage country and it was raining every day.
Okay.
And sometimes Renee was coming in from tennis. So most of the time, one of the discerning items, they all had a piece of quality jewelry on, not a wedding ring, but they all seemed to have a piece of quality wedding jewelry on. They were all kind of 45 plus. They were 45 plus and they were kind of capping at about 65. The older women that were there, I think they come from a different generation where you don't spend on this stuff. That was my sense, because I know their cottages or I know their families by way of introduction over the last 5 years of being in this community. And so I know that they're the frugal ones. They're the ones that save to make this community and this opportunity happen for their children and their grandchildren. But as far as that, after that, it was a crapshoot. I mean, some were in literally like grubby sweats and cottage clothes that, you'd go camping in, and some were in summer spring dresses with a raincoat over top, and they were out to be seen. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yep. No, that's good. That's a good way of putting it.
Yeah, that part was hard to distinguish. There was no hesitation on purchasing. It was, I have to have this, put this aside. Here's my name and number. I'll be back in an hour. I'm going to go look at everything and mix and mingle. There was no hesitation. There was 3 men who all took pictures and sent to their wives. 2 of the men bought, 1 did not. And the one guy said, I should have just bought it because I love it. She doesn't, but I love it. And of course, there was a bunch of women around, kind of joking and prodding him a little bit because he's a realtor in the community and well known. But there was some of that. So there's very much he didn't make the decisions on kitchen items and implements. Questions. The questions were, how do you paint them? That was the big one. Do you paint and stain them this way? No, I don't. It was understanding the wood. They wanted to know the species and the source of the woods. They wanted to know, when I told them about the process that I go through to select wood out of, well, let me just grab this. So this is what I find, right? Like, I don't know if you can see that, but this is a gnarled piece of wood, right? It's covered in, stuff and stains and all that stuff. So that'll get milled down and I'll find 2 or 3 strips out of this, right? And so that story of finding the diamond in the rough, or finding the beauty in the wood and all that, and then piecing it together, people really resonated with that. Then the story is, well, how does the glue nut come apart? And I have to explain some of the technical, not getting into jargon, but just say it's stronger than the wood, modern chemistry, it works amazing. And I said, I broke a board, it fell off a shelf and the wood split, not the board, not the laminate. So, it's, Canadian wood failed, not the glue. Then we spoke about the longevity. That was a conversation we had pretty much all the time. And I was asking questions about, well, what does your grandma's board look like that you use now? Because the community up there has been around since 1900-ish. So there's a lot of old generation, multi-generation families up there. So a lot of stuff my grandmother used or my mother used, that kind of stuff. And so it was, how's your mom's board look, or your grandma's board look? They're like, yeah, it looks like crap. It's been beat to snot, but we love it because my grandma cooked on it and she's no longer with us. She was 92 last time she was up. And I said, well, these boards, if you maintain them with the board butter and you do all that stuff, they will last that long. And so there was a lot of those kind of conversations. So there was that, longevity and things. And then there was questions about, well, how will it show marks and things like that? I'm like, yeah, it will. I mean, it's a knife on wood, like it's going to. But it's not for decoration. And they'd pick them up. It's like, oh, these are hefty. And I'm like, yeah, these are made to be used. It's it's artistic, it's artisan, it's meant to be an heirloom piece, and it's meant to be kind of a piece in your kitchen that you can show off and people can ooh and ah over. That's what it's intended to do, and it all seemed to resonate well.
Yeah, good. So you pointed something out indirectly, but you used the word a couple times, and there's a phrase in marketing that facts tell, stories sell. So what you are identifying is the story behind it is what's grabbing your customer, and that's piquing their emotion, and they want to embrace the certain values, the sustainability, the generational thing. Which, by the way, when you have that we don't want to get rid of grandma's cutting board. Don't you want generational cutting boards? Don't you have your mom's cutting board? Don't you need yours in the generation now? Just a little thought for you in the conversation. But the idea is story is what draws people in. And if it's a meaningful story, it's the kind of idea as the daddy-daughter thing. There's story behind that. There's inspiration. The fact that you're saving exotic woods that are going to get turned into, it's going to be turned into mulch, right? That's story. And one of the things that you indicated, but just by all the stuff you talked about, is your avatar has a certain level of sophistication.
Yes.
They want to understand this whole process of what.
I didn't expect that, but they seem to. I mean, pretty much everybody was asking questions about the manufacturing process, about the maintenance of it, and how it will wear. Those were three long, pretty much consistent questions that I had.
Right.
I did not expect that at all.
Yep, but that's pretty consistent of some of the other values that Renee has and Blake has. They want quality stuff, and they want to understand the quality behind it. So there's this thing behind them. They have to validate inside of themselves that this is up to my standard, and that's why they ask those type of questions. And so that's a good gauge for you too when you're talking to somebody to start leading them into that type of space, the sophistication space. And if they're not willing to go to that space, they're not going to spend the money on it, right? And then you can redirect them to Katie's table, because maybe it's Mommy Mary who's really inspired by or whatever it might be, to your daughter's table. One of the other things you said is when somebody comes by, I'm going to come back and get this. Here's my number, whatever. When somebody expresses that kind of interest, but if you get that kind of non-committal, get their number. Say,
I was getting the number, and I'm sorry, let me rephrase. The only way I was holding a board for them, was the purchasing was done on a chit system where they couldn't leave the marketplace without paying. And so all the vendors wrote up on a receipt book the sale, and then that was a committed sale. So walking in, if you gave your member number or you gave an email address, you had committed to the sale. And so I was only putting a board back if I received and they signed the chit.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very cool. All right. So so very good. So where do you find yourself at now that, I mean, you've had success, right? You've seen it now, and you've made cash, and you've got some other things that are developing in the pipeline. Do you find yourself in any kind of constraint at the moment?
The constraint is understanding the next set of products. Um, it's really leveraging this thing now. That's the bit I need to figure out what to do. So I'm hoping that our next session we can get more into the operational side of it. Um, I mean, this has all been great and it's been eye-opening and all that, but I think I'd like to see a little bit more of this. I'm sorry, they just turned on. Can you hear?
Not really.
You don't hear the lawnmowers across the street?
Nope. I heard a little bit for a moment, but now I can't hear it now.
Okay, cool. Yeah, if not, I'll just go to the garage door. So yeah, that's a bit about the kind of where I'm at. I'm trying to figure out, that idea of daddy-daughter sign kind of concept makes sense. I can definitely then begin to maximize this thing.
Mhm.
I'm trying to figure out, because the cutting boards, there's a lot of work and there's little CNC work on it. On the personalization side of it, I can definitely get a lot more into that. Having to make sure that any of the engravings that I'm doing are filling with epoxy so that I'm not creating food pocket voids and things like that. And then designing up the stand and making the stands. I definitely want to leverage this to make the stands and kind of carve out a dozen of them at once and kind of mill up the wood and then put that down and get that going. So understanding how to build some of the hardwoods, and that I think that's kind of now the next step that I'm stuck in. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at right now.
Okay. All right. One of the things, if you, that's a good idea, since you're not using your CNC a lot right now, and signs with your signs are a good product to be put on there, obviously. And if this is going to be a daddy-daughter thing, it's really ideal to run her through the avatar thing too, so she gets a very clear picture.
Okay,
Right?
good idea. Yep.
Yeah.
Actually, that'd be a fun exercise.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, I guess I haven't actually been writing down a whole list of things for you to do. You seem to be doing pretty good. Other than I want to make sure you stay in contact with your customers, those that bought. Make sure in about a month you set yourself up some kind of reminder that in a month you just make contact with them, or 2 weeks, and ideally via phone.
Okay.
Because that's where they can say, "Oh yeah, thank you, Mark. I love it so much. Blah blah blah. I'm doing this and that." And that's where you can upsell, you can cross sell, you can, where you're keeping it. All right.
Yep.
So you know what? The cutting board stands are a very natural thing. So you might want to start working on that and come up with some kind of design, and maybe even, use the same wood patterns that you use for these things for the carving boards, something like that. Whatever you want to do. So let's see, contact your customers. There's those that have already bought. Like a month or two ago, if you had any sales, you did have a few, you said, get in touch with those, or have you already?
Yeah, no, the ones that I sold a little while ago, I reached out before I left, because I had made up a bunch of board butter.
Okay.
And so they're local, so I was able to drive around and give it to them as a gift. So
Awesome. And how did they take it?
I was great. A couple were on vacation, so it was left in mailbox, and I just sent them a text or picture. The two people that I did meet up with, I showed it to them, and one of them then the next day called me and was like, "Oh wow, this is great! Yeah, it totally brought it back to the way you gave it to me."
All right.
So
Okay, good. Okay. Yeah. So when's your next show?
I don't know yet. Potentially Saturday.
Okay.
I'm trying out for my local community. There's they've got a farmers market 10 till 2, so a quick 4-hour deal. So it's a $25 table. So I put my application in yesterday, so I should hear back by Wednesday.
Okay. Have you been to that market before?
I've not. No, I've never been to the market. I just drove by when we came home yesterday. I was like, okay, there's my next place. Let's see what
Okay.
happens. So,
All right. Do a little quick research on that to know
Yeah.
the avatar, because
Yeah.
if Renee isn't going to that place, you're gonna have it can be a wasted 8 hours. right? You want an
Okay.
alternative. That's where you want an alternative. Yeah, this may be where mommy's going. Did I mention before about the toddler stand to you?
Yeah, we've spoken about that. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah,
Somebody, you
somebody's,
want to explore more about what the toddler stand is and the avatar and things.
yeah, the risk that there may be some kind of risk behind it.
What do you mean by that?
Someone commented on one of the video where we talked about that they were doing something like that and they had to get out of it because there was either they couldn't keep up with insurance on it or there's some risk issues on it, where if the piece of furniture failed, that somebody got hurt, that it could come back to you.
Oh, right.
So you may actually, what I'll do is just ask that person to comment down below this video, and be very clear on what the issue was that made you pull away from it, so that Mark can get that insight.
I hadn't thought about that. So this is, yeah, I
This
guess I
is
need to look into insurance and all that stuff too, don't I?
yeah, this is the Mommy Mary product at the toddler stand in the kitchen type of thing, especially if they're on the counter, right?
Yeah, well, that's the
Uh,
thing.
yeah, and then Junior falls off the counter because of,
Yeah, that's interesting. Okay. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, that makes sense.
okay, yep. So just we'll
We have
watch.
socialized medicine up here. It's okay if they fall. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. Yeah. All right. So we'll look into that. So you are in good your progress is excellent now. So you said something about you want to talk more about the machine next time.
Yeah, I'd like to, if it's okay, I'd like to talk about a couple processes about I'm still confused. We spoke quickly last time, and just with the show and everything, I haven't had a chance to implement it.
Mhm.
But carving out the logo, you can see in the background, there's the large board that I've already painted, getting ready to make the logo. Just about being able to mill that up properly and get it so that it's done properly. And then the other thing is I want to get to kind of some production ideas. I'm looking at, there was a couple ideas that this woman had said might sell. So I want to see, make a couple up and see what they look like. So I might have some questions around that.
Okay. Okay. I
Um,
just want to challenge you a bit. I want to make sure that the you are paying me to help you make money, right? To
yes.
learn how to do that. And so if this is something that's going to and to understand business. So if this is going to be around that foundation of that growth, then you're okay. That's maybe deviating a little bit from why you originally brought me in, right? Because now the technical stuff. So I just want to be clear that that's the direction you want to go in.
Yeah, I think right now it's I'm trying to get this thing to work, and I kind of feel it's beginning to be an irritant for me
Okay.
because I'm trying to do some things and it's not working the way I need it to. And so because of that, I'm more hesitant to actually do anything on it than you know what I mean? Like it's like, okay, I can go make cutting boards. I know how to do that. I figured that one out. And I've got some block. Okay, here's the thing. I know how to build websites. I know how to do email marketing campaigns. I don't even have to bat an eye. I can do it in my sleep. I did not have time to do it for this event.
Right.
And quite frankly, I didn't have time to organize my shop better or anything. I just had to go and do it. And I think I'm overthinking the machine. I think I've watched too many videos and I've got too many different ideas floating around in my head about how to just how to achieve a few items.
Right.
Like one of them is using the router to make a juice groove as opposed to having to build a kit to do that. Right now I'm putting the logo on the back side. People have said they don't want the logo on the back side. They want it on the side. So I'm thinking, do I cut an opening here so I can clamp the board underneath the table, and then have it come up?
Oh no, absolutely not. You'll be amazed. It's a simple G code. It's one code that will help translate all this stuff.
Okay, so yeah, so these are the things that I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, and I'm kind of struggling a little bit on this stuff. So, and like I said, I think I'm overthinking it. Just like people always say to me, "Oh, well, I need a website to start your business." Well, you don't. I didn't have a website to start my business, and I've already got 15 people signed up, and more. I've already seen since we've been talking. More people are signing up today about signing up for the boards. And it's simple. It's just a simple, quick landing page with a form on it. I didn't have a week to create the fancy, beautiful landing page and the website and all that stuff. So I did the next best thing. I'm overthinking this. I know I am, and I just need some guidance so that I can actually make money.
Okay. All right. So the first thing I'll say is stop watching YouTube videos with all these different things, because it's making you want to make all kinds of stuff. And so it is overthinking you. We have defined your niche and we have defined your avatar. You need to get solidly into that space before you start to branch out. Now you can make subtle products, but even in the YouTube comments, I get, oh, he could do this, he could do that, he can do that. And no, you don't do that. You got, that's part of why I'm here with you, is we're going to stop you. It's stop watching YouTube stuff that's giving you all these new ideas. That's causing a lot of confusion. We will figure out how to use your CNC router in your niche. And and you can complement it with your daughter.
Okay. Yeah. Maybe that's the direction we go, or maybe Katie creates a product line or something. But yeah.
Yeah. So don't get spazzed out on the fact that the machine is not running because in the last week you made $2,200.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay. Yeah. Fair enough.
And the only and all you did was laser burn a logo, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Right. So
and the tree. We made the tree, so that's I won't show the whole thing because it's now my thing. But there's what I ended up doing is it's the bent pine that's kind of up north. So there's the rock and the bent pine and so on.
Right.
One of the things I found is I found with the laser, the different wood species, it was burning deeper at different levels.
Yeah.
And so I want to try this with a router and be able to do the same thing. But again, like there's this big honking void at the bottom, right? So how do you do that and get the kind of detail you need?
Right.
Right. Because it's pretty fine work. But you use the V-carve bit back and forth, you use the end mill. What's the process for making this?
Okay. And
then can I lay out 5 boards, and then how do I set the zeros for each of them? And like, I'm trying to think of how can I batch some of this stuff so I don't have to sit there and go, okay, every 10 minutes I got to walk back into the machine. Maybe I can set up an hour's worth of work so I can go do something else and be productive for an hour.
Right.
Those are kind of some of the things I'm trying to figure out.
Right. Okay. All right. So here's what we'll do then. This is part of your other task, is before we meet next week is make sure one of the things you didn't do was the thermometer thing for your income. So make sure you do that.
Remind me, thermometer?
The thermometer to show your money growth.
Oh, like turn this into like a thermometer.
Turn that into a thermometer.
Okay, I can do that.
Okay. And have a list of, in order to use the CNC router, right? We want to incorporate that. So what I want you to do is kind of get yourself into a position. Are you going to work with Sophie? Or are you going to incorporate it into what you're doing? Sophie, Katie, Sophie's your daughter, right?
Sophie's my daughter, Katie's my partner.
Okay. Okay. All right. So if you're going to be doing that, we just don't want to get too much stuff going on at one time. You saw success with cutting boards, but that doesn't mean you're going to see success next week or the week after.
Right.
Right. It's kind of like this. My mentor, one of my mentors before, he was working, and his mentor was a multi-millionaire. And he was not quite a millionaire yet, but he said, I went up to my mentor and I said, I made $500,000. And his mentor said, so what are you, half a millionaire now? Right. The idea is, are you half successful now? Because you're only halfway at your 5.5K.
Yeah.
Right. So we can't lose sight of that goal. and what's going to get you there. And we've spent a lot of time on that. So don't let yourself get too confused. If you find yourself getting confused, how can I make this thing run? There's, oh, I can make that because I see that on YouTube or something like that. Put on the brakes. We got our niche. You understand who's buying it, and you've got an amazing product, and let that router thing kind of mold into it. You're not there yet, right? You feel good, but you're not there yet. So let's,
Okay.
do you understand what I'm saying to you? Can reiterate
Yeah,
back to me.
I do. I'm going to avoid the shiny syndrome.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. So we will get that machine running and using on your stuff. Let that kind of mull out. Write the question down. How can I incorporate my CNC router, your long mill, into this business? And let that question rest with you. Some ideas will come to you. All right.
Okay, cool. Yeah, they're now. Can you hear the blower? I'm sorry.
Nope.
Oh, good. Okay, good.
Yeah, it looks like Zoom is doing good at filtering things out, or your cell phone is. Okay, my friend. Then your tasks are just go through it again.
Yeah, so I've got the thermometer, the list of the projects that I can do on the CNC, chat with Sophie and see what she's doing. And then if she wants to participate, follow up with the customers who bought and set up systems for that, to remind myself to follow up with them in a month. And then design out the cutting board stands. Worn board butter. Oh, and then create the worn board versus the one with board butter, right? And look at the conditioned board versus a non-conditioned board.
Yeah.
And then the end of drilling season, put that in a calendar to get set up.
Yep. Okay, so look at that list.
Yep.
What part of that list will make money?
Following up with people that bought. Oh, I also have here following up the people that didn't buy that I have their contact information for. Oh, I didn't asterisk it, but I'll put it back here, is to research the market for Saturday.
Yeah. Because it could be a complete waste of your time going that market.
Yeah.
The other thing is, the other thing that's going to make the money is getting those stands ready.
Yes.
Design those stands. It's not there. That's not immediate. You got to do the upfront work. But then when you contact your customers at the end of the month or whatever, you'll be able to, hey, I got this stand, it's, yeah, let's get that.
Stands make money.
Yeah, stands make money. Okay, good. So focus on the money items.
Yes.
Right. We still have to get to the 5.5K. You got 4 weeks to do it.
Yep. 4 weeks. I can do this.
Yep, you can do it.
I will do this.
All right, there you go. All right, then I will talk to you next week.
Okay, my friend. Thanks so much.
Okay, I'll see you.
Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Well, you've made it through mentoring session number 4, and you have seen huge progress in Mark. And if you've been following this whole thing, you see now the mindset shift, the way he's thinking about business. It's no longer really a need for, I gotta make money. It's more of how can he serve the customer that he is focused on. And you're gonna see, or you have seen, that by doing that, Mark has been able to achieve 50% of his goal way ahead of what normal people get into business would experience. So I hope you got something out of this. I hope this has inspired you to move your butt into building up these foundations and just going for that business. It'll work out so long as you get the determination. All right, thumbs up and a comment. I would love to see a comment. And until next mentoring session, I'm Garrett with IDC Woodcraft. I hope you have a great day, better tomorrow, and happy CNCing.